Welcome to the Rich Praytor podcast. Today we have a fun episode with Michael Joyner. Michael Joyner is a prolific comedian and extremely successful award-winning actor. You might have seen him in the hit movie The Grace Card or recently the comedy hit Heaven Bound. He's written for TV shows like The Tonight Show and Politically Incorrect. And he got his start in the movie business by being the full-time photo double for Bruce Willis on the hit TV show Moonlighting. We are going to pick up the conversation right in the middle of us talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers and how the refs seem to be messing up the NFL these days. We also cover some political issues as well as what actors need to do in today's environment to really be successful at their craft. So without further ado, here's our conversation with Mr. Michael Joyner.
You at, man? Colorado?
Yeah, Colorado Springs.
And I love that place.
And you're in Missouri?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
I've been there. I've been to Lawrence a couple of times. Isn't that like right near there?
Oh, I thought you were saying, oh, wow, because of the Chiefs game last night.
Oh, I didn't watch that. No, I was at my kids. We were playing like parents against students basketball, so I didn't watch it. Plus, the Chiefs killed the Broncos, so I'm not a big fan of them right now.
Well, we were ahead by 2 touchdowns until the very last, and we lost by 1 point. Could have claimed the division title for LA Rams. And I'm telling you, man, I hate people make excuses, but even the news today is all about the officiating. How terrible. I mean, they missed some big stuff.
Oh, really? Oh.
And once again, it had to do with LA. Every time we play LA, either at home or I don't know. Who knows, man? I swear, it's the worst. Look it up. I mean, they missed stuff that, in reality, we wouldn't have lost that game. So it just really sucks to have to play against referees as well as the team.
Yeah. Well, I've noticed that this season in particular has been some of the worst officiating that I've seen. All around, like every game. So
what is
seems
going
like there's
on?
an agenda.
I mean, you're getting paid good money for that. Okay, you're not getting roughed up like the players, so do your job.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
What was one of the calls?
Oh, there were, you know what, they have it, I don't know the technical stuff, but a couple of things were like some guy got brushed, and so they called holding or whatever, and then another thing they missed on us where a guy helmet bashed another guy, and they didn't call it. So all of those were very crucial towards the end. That would have made a big difference. So I forget the exact names of the calls, but man, when they, and when the commentators are even taking sides and saying that was not right, because they like to remain neutral.
Yeah.
Whenever they can. But yeah, it's all over the news, though. It's all over and by 1 point we lost. So.
That's brutal. And so it was against the Chargers?
Yeah, against the the LA Rams, I believe.
Oh, the Rams.
No, wait a minute. Wait. Shoot, I keep mixing them up. I think it was the Chargers. Yeah, Chargers. Pretty sure we must have played. Where'd the Rams play at?
I think they're both in LA, Rams and the Chargers.
Okay, that's where I'm confused with it. Because when I lived out there was no team. You can root for the Raiders or nobody, and I chose nobody. Except
I hate the Raiders.
I hate the Raiders. I love going on their Facebook page and taunting the fans. And I'll tell them straight out, I'll say, I really don't hate the Raiders. It's the fans that are idiots. And I like to go on there. This is probably why I got off Facebook a couple of times, but I went on there and said, I'd like to apologize to all the ex-cons, trans, illegal aliens, and what else did I name that are Raiders fans for your loss. That place is I don't even like getting booked in Oakland, man. I hate going to that place, to be honest. There's just something in the air that's just like, you feel like it's nothing but people released from prison. And that whole city.
A lot of it is. I mean, and it's so amazing that, San Francisco, what's the other, there's so many beautiful cities and communities around there, and there's just this pack of just craziness right in there. Well, I mean, a lot of good rap music came out of there, I guess.
A lot of good what?
Rap music.
Oh, is that right?
I think so, yeah. All the, the Oakland-based stuff, the West Coast against the East Coast rap. Gosh, I'm so out of my league when I talk about this stuff. There's just a lot of references to Oakland in every song.
I like Cisco. That's my favorite rap guy. Song soon. I listen to it every day.
Oh, my favorite rap guy is Carmen. Who's in the House?
Carmen?
Oh, man. Yeah. It was great.
Whatever.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Well, what brought you out to, we're in the podcast, by the way. This is great.
Good, because I like to be controversial. I don't want to just be boring. I got to say something to make somebody mad, or it's not worth it.
There you go. Well, yeah, you know what? I've noticed you're one of the few comics that, take a political stand and just call stuff out on Facebook all the time, when there's, violence towards cops or violence towards, whatever.
Well, we're so backwards. We're so bad. I've never been able to suppress that stuff, and I don't get people who do. I mean, it's one. I don't want to get utter. I mean, I realize as Christians, especially, we need to. One thing I'm going to stress is, hey, let's start believing that. Part of what we're called to do is pray and believe these people can change, but at the same time, we're being told stuff that is the exact opposite in the news and wherever else, and the exact opposite of what's true. And the first people God names who go to hell forever are liars, so he hates liars,
Yeah.
And if we as Christians embrace lies, something's not right. We have no problem with it. So I just hate the lying and the deceiving and the spinning that seems to be going on, and I have a hard time. And also as comedians, you and I, we notice stuff. We observe. That's what we do. We train ourselves to observe. And how could you not notice the backwards? They call it political, but I always tell people I'm not at all political. I'm Christian, and that makes me a person who's focused on morality. And these days, immorality is rampant among politics. So that's why I'm focused there. We used to just have one, like back in the day, let's take atheists. We used to coincide, have atheists in America, but it wasn't a big problem. There was people who believed in God and people who didn't believe in God. And now we have people who believe in God and then people who hate you for believing in God. They hate God. They ridicule God at every chance they get. They're not just people, they're proactive with their stuff. So how could we as Christians just sit there and do nothing, It's gotten very radical, it's pretty much starting to become everything the Bible says it would become in the last days. So I don't know.
You're right.
I believe there can be revival. I really do, especially in our nation, if anywhere. So I'm praying for it, but man, that stuff there's just people and stuff that gets on my nerves, and I don't get how it doesn't get on other people's nerves, to be honest.
I know it's such a political, it's so emotional, when it comes to just talking about it, having a discussion. I mean, remember we were talking about when, during the election, and Trump was, I think Trump had just won, all the, the left and the liberals were just going nuts. Mm-hmm. And everyone was saying it was the end of the world. And it was all about the wall. And I lived in El Paso, Texas that's where I was born at, lived there for years, went to college there. And, we had a huge barrier fence wall that kept us from Juarez, it was just it was just a normal thing. And I remember like trying to explain to people, like, listen, you know, Juarez is one of the top 10 most dangerous cities on the planet.
Yes, it is.
And El Paso is one of the top 10 to 15 safest cities in the United States. Like, how can that be if they border each other? It's like, well, it's a wall, you know, because it just makes sense. And so I was telling people that on Facebook, and that was my mistake, getting on Facebook and trying to have a discussion, you know, with people who don't agree with you, and they just were called, you know, you're racist, you're the. I was like, when was upholding our immigration laws racism? You know, it's like my mom's from Mexico. You know, this is just how we protect the United States, and it's so amazing how emotional people get and start calling you names. Like, it's not even I disagree with you, and just like you said, it's like, no, I hate you because you don't agree with me. It blows my mind. It really does blow my mind.
There's just no debating these folks. Here's the thing. They don't want to know the truth. I mean, I really looked into this, and it's the same spirit, I'm fully persuaded, of the Pharisees who saw Jesus raise someone from the dead, and even then went back and said, how can we kill him? They didn't go back and go, maybe he is the Son of God. They went back and said, now we got to kill him because he raised somebody from the dead. How stupid is that? And it's the same spirit. It suppresses the truth. It doesn't, you know, I hear Sean Hannity all the time, and I want to say, Sean, you keep saying this phrase, why don't the liberals get it? They get it, Sean. They're lying. They're lying. They're coming up with spins of, do you think liberals really have compassion for Mexicans? They want their vote is all they do. They have an agenda. So everything is an agenda. Everything is you know, even in the book of Romans, it says there's really no such thing as a sincere atheist. They suppress the truth and rights. They push it back in their mind until they almost have themselves believing the lie. So we're not dealing with people who fight fair. Have you ever seen someone debate someone and you're like, wow, the conservative guy or whatever goes up, how do you refute what he just said? And then sure enough, here comes the liberal, spinning everything, lying. It's almost like when the devil, you know, remember when God did all the miracles with Pharaoh, and then the devil, I guess these magicians came in and supposedly did something, but they really didn't. Theirs were tricks. But it was enough to make people believe who were susceptible to that. So I believe there's very few sincere people on the left really believing that stuff. There's a few, but I think if you're sincere about it, you'll eventually come to the truth. But there's mostly people with an agenda. I mean, look at Hillary. Look at the backwoodsness. We just found out one of Trump's guys or whatever did something that was less than 1/1000th of what Hillary or so many on the left have done with their. I mean, Adam Schiff or whatever his name is. I know what his nickname is, but Adam Schiff, the politician who's getting on Trump, he actually paid off someone with taxpayers' money. He paid off a kid, a 19-year-old boy, for a sex accusation. And now we have Trump's lawyer, who I'm not that fond of, but nevertheless, he didn't even commit a crime, and he's going to go to jail. They pay off people all the time to shut up. Michael Jackson paid off people to shut up. Yeah. So how in the world are we even talking about this? You know, it
was amazing when I saw Dinesh D'Souza, is it? The one he created Hillary's America and Obama's America and all. Yeah, he went to jail for something that no one ever's gone to jail for because
perfect
Obama.
Example.
Yeah, because Obama didn't like his movie, and so he did something. You know, he broke the law, but it was a political misdemeanor or whatever. He was the only person in history who ever went to jail for that. And it just blew my mind because I'm like, how did that, you know, like you said, there's an agenda. Nobody, you know, the left didn't like that movie. So he went to jail. So I'm so glad I'm glad he got exonerated by Trump, but it's just, you just never see stuff like, you never see conservatives or the right go after the left like that. Like it's such a, you know, because
speaking of another thing you never see conservatives do, I had about, 18,000 followers deleted after my Twitter. Larry the Cable Guy, a bunch of conservatives, and then they of course they also get banned. But we've challenged others, people who are big names with check marks have challenged Twitter and Facebook and said, can you name any liberal you've ever banned? And there's not one. Not a one. And I'm talking about people who, Louis Farrakhan, look at the stuff he said about Jews. And yet Laura Loomer or somebody says something, just simply puts facts out there about Muslims and the terrorism connection, and you're banned. So it is, to say it's backwards is an understatement. There's a very scary thing. I mean, I think it's worse than communism, what I'm seeing. I often tell my wife, we have hung people for less than this kind of stuff. Comey, Hillary, Mueller's do. We've hung people in our, for less than that, okay, for being traitors of America. And yet here we are applauding it. A certain side is applauding that stuff. It's just mind-boggling. I don't know. Prayer is, it starts with a lot of prayer, because I'll tell you, everything's already been said that can be said and nobody's listening. So they need a wake-up call from within.
It has to be. It's always fascinating for me to see people who are on the left and then they start to gravitate toward the middle and then go to the right. Like Dave Rubin, for example. He was with the Young Turks, and extremely intelligent guy, but really left side. And then he kind of drifted over to the right when he just realized that he had been on he had been on a side that he was trying to agree with, but he never could because there was no truth behind it, or a lot of it wasn't truth, and he finally just accepted it. And I think it's a pride issue too, when you just got to accept it. And he comes over to the right, and now he's like this just advocate for just for truth. He's not really a political guy anymore. He just wants to know. He just wants to discuss truth.
And that's what I mean by there are some sincere people there, and if they are sincere, they'll eventually go to the other side. People say, you're just saying that you're just a conservative because of this or that, and I say no. I like truth, and I like facts. I've been banned from Twitter for simply cutting and pasting statistics from the FBI.
Really?
When people got on, once in a while, I leave it alone anymore, but once in a while someone will say, because this is where they could really call you racist. But it's, as you can tell, as you can probably see, anybody with eyes can see, it's okay to be racist against white people. Everything is anti-white anymore. It's no problem. Say whatever you want. And, I get a little tired of that. So somebody was saying something, and I think it was a policeman thing. And, this is why the NFL is kneeling, blah, blah, blah. And I said, let's go look at this statistically. Here's who's committing the crimes against police, and here's who's committing the crimes against this. And I just put the statistics up there.
Yeah.
Take a look and see if there really is an imbalance. And they removed me for a week. Someone reported that was racist. I cut and pasted it from the FBI.
That's so funny.
It's scary. And I even put down there, by the way, you can go to this site. This is where I got this. But no. We don't want the truth. And I don't want to get on anybody or any culture or anything. But I do. You get tired of the lies, especially. I'm white, and I don't feel I think we're getting a bad reputation here because I don't know. It just seems to be cool. And then there's the white people who want to say they hate whitey. That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Okay. Oh, I love that word, whitey. We got to bring it back.
Whitey, whatever. I see them marching with their signs. White people are blah, blah, blah. You're white, you idiot. You realize that? It's fake compassion. It's like they're saying I don't think even Black America wants that. It's like they're saying to Black America, look how not racist I am. I hate myself. No, it's how stupid you are is what it is, okay? Anyway, I would love to see unity, though. And all things being said, I think we had more unity in the 60s and the 70s, to be honest. I mean, we loved each other's music. We loved each other. You know, there was no everything anymore is race or politics or this or that. But I don't know. It just seems like 60s, 70s, maybe even 80s, there was more unity. But then the left got even more radical, I think, with their.
I agree.
Yeah, and man, it's really gotten really scary. You know, so we'll see where it ends up. But I heard someone say the pendulum always swings back, so I hope that's true.
Yeah, well, I think the left, you know, all of this, the left having an agenda, or just the stuff that happened in the last 8 to 12 years politically, how the culture has kind of, you know, they've really dominated the culture and really, you know, probably set the morale levels really low where, you know, it's okay to, you know, to do this. Abortion's fine and, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it's created people like Ben Shapiro and all of these conservative, intelligent people that you just, like, they're just so intelligent. And you talk to them and you hear them and you realize how much you've been lied to, like you said, and it's so refreshing to hear the truth and be like, okay, all right, this is why, all right, I got it. He's saying that now it makes sense, and it's nice to have that kind of
I don't see how a left person, a liberal, can listen to Shapiro and go away still. Again, it reminds me of a Pharisee. They see Jesus do 1,000,000 miracles and go away and still don't want to believe. And I'm not comparing Trump or conservatives to Christ, and that, you know, in that anybody's that perfect, but I'm saying it's the same spirit on their side that just doesn't want to believe the truth for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't know how a person wakes up and wants to live a lie. Do you know how hard it is? I used to think, how hard is it to be a Clinton and wake up and have to remember what you said and what you're going to say, and because it's all lies. If you're a truthful person, you don't have to remember anything. You just speak the truth. Yeah. But especially if you're going to go and be, you know, if you're going to be questioned by somebody, you know, James Comey tried. Here's a great spin. He tried to fool us on Twitter by spinning why he didn't want to be questioned on TV or in public, as if it was you know, as if they wanted to do it to catch him in something. But the truth of the matter is, that's the only way he could have told the truth. And he could have been open if he would have said it all in public. Now we got to read his replies, and he knows exactly what he's doing. Isn't it scary that we had a person in charge of the FBI with such an agenda? Now he's not even pretending. He's going out saying, we got to get rid of Trump. I mean, that is friggin' scary. Somebody in the FBI. That's like having a referee saying, I love the Chiefs, but don't worry, I'm going to be fair.
Yeah. Or the Chargers. Or
better yet, that was a terrible example compared to last night's game, in light of last night's game. Should have been, I love L.A.
So where did you get your start in? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, no.
Oh, no, I was going to ask you, this is like a very good transition. I was going to ask you, like, when did you get started or interested in stand-up?
Yeah, that is a good segue. friggin' idiot liberals. So anyway, I got started in stand-up when I was.
Well, I mean, I was gonna go with, you know, do you use a lot of your political views? I mean, do they show up in your acts as far as?
No, you know what? Because my philosophy is we're there to make people laugh, and that's why I actually made the Make America Laugh Again comedy tour. I was headlining the Improv over here in Kansas City, and I invited people, all my, you know, friends on my Facebook for free tickets. And after the show, you know, I had a great show. After the show, all these people came up to me, talking to me, and I realized, man, there's people there from my church. They're conservative. Here's people from my acting class. They're ultra-liberal. And we all just laughed together at the same stuff. Yeah. And I thought, man, you know, we can laugh together. there's certain things we can do together. Let's try to transition this into our regular life and quit hating each other so much. So, yeah, I mean, I have a few liberal, or I shouldn't say liberal, I have a few political jokes that I've tweeted at times, but it's tough, you know, as you know, we have to try to not alienate ourselves or alienate our audience. We want a wide audience, so how do you do that as a comedian who also notices stuff? I noticed that the big wigs in Hollywood, the A-listers, they don't really care who they offend.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever want to see another Jim Carrey movie, for instance, but for the most part, I just kind of keep my stuff. Although I kind of keep it edgy, it's always clean. I do make fun of stuff that's politically incorrect, but I won't never, for the most part, mention. You know, you got to read between the lines. You know, this is a left thing, but I won't say that. You know, like I just did a big rant recently for my YouTube page on the "Baby It's Cold Outside" debacle. You know.
I know. Yeah.
And I talked about snowflakes and millennials and all the other goofballs who are ruining everything for everybody. But I did have one great joke I was real proud of once, and I did a comedy show, and he said, everybody here's conservative. You can make fun of liberals. So I threw it out there. I said, I joked a little bit about liberals, and I said, you know, in reality, I love all my liberal friends. I'm going to miss them when I go to heaven.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
Yeah. But,
well, that's,
so yeah, I started
hard.
in the church, actually, did you ask me when I started?
Well, I don't know, like, when did you get the, cause you're one of the few comedians that I know, either secular or Christian, that have a successful film career. And it's always like, you know, did you start out as an actor and then transition to comedy, or do both, or did you get started in stand-up first and then do the acting thing?
That is funny, because I moved to Hollywood in 1986 to 88. I stayed there when I was single, and I really didn't know what I was doing. I worked as an extra. I got too stuck in that, which, you know, extra work is not acting. Let me just tell you. It's not at all. I wouldn't even put it on your resume if I was advising people, which I do sometimes. But then I went back when I got my family in 2002 and really studied. By then I was also doing comedy. But so I really always wanted to be an actor, and I discovered that I wanted to be a comedian through my acting. I was doing a lot of theater in Valparaiso, Indiana. In 1988, I got the job as Bruce Willis's photo double for the last season of Moonlighting. I talked to him a little bit about, he gave me advice to do theater to get started in acting. And so I moved back home to Chicago, Indiana area, and Northwest Indiana is right by Chicago. So I did a lot of theater, and most of the theater were comedies, and I started developing my comedy chops, and then I started doing comedy. And that was I was making a living as a stand-up much earlier than I was as an actor. So we moved the family, my wife and two boys, to L.A. in 2002, and we had another baby. And that's where I really studied with some of the best. I could see God's hand on everything I was doing, because he led me to the best acting coaches in the world. And I studied with them intensely. Finally got an agent after 2 years, finally got an audition after 1 year with the agent, and then before long I was auditioning 8 to 10 times a week. So got lots of experience, and my first lead role, believe it or not, came in the movie The Grace Card after I came back home from Hollywood to Kansas City.
Oh.
And I thought my career was over, but they called me and without an audition said, hey, we want you for the lead in this movie. I wasn't that excited about it at first, because I thought, faith-based films aren't that great. It's just going to be another paycheck. But then Louis Gossett Jr. signed on, and then Sony Pictures bought the movie. And from there, I've done I was counting the other day, almost 20 roles without an audition. So that's nice.
That's
when people
ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's nice to be able to do that. I will audition for people. I have no problem if I have to, but most of them have been just people who've seen the movie, seen my other work, and said, we'd like you for this movie. So I still want to do more quality stuff. I have my own company, Esther Pictures, and Sling and Monkey Productions, and I'm writing and making some movies, and hopefully I can mention I'm going to be in your movie, Lord willing. That works out, and that looks like a lot of fun. So I got 3 movies coming up, 2 faith-based, including yours, and 1 very intense horror thriller that shoots in Kentucky for next year. And they're just getting better quality, it seems like. So I'm excited about it. Plus I'm going to hopefully raise money for my own. And I'm glad to see that Hollywood's warming up. As you know, like the movie I Can Only Imagine. I don't want to just make faith-based films. I always do want to make films that I believe are, as a Christian, that I can be proud of one way or the other. But as far as Christian films go, they are getting a lot better. I'm glad to see that. And they're just better quality in every way. And, like making good money finally. Movies are, from an investor's perspective, they do want to make money. I've seen a lot of poor movies made and they make no money. But so it's really Hollywood doesn't always like the message, but they usually won't reject the fact that you're making them some money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, they'll get behind a Christian film if it's just bringing in the cash. And that's what I don't know. From like an investor point of view, this is what I've learned, and they have all these statistics that talk about when investors put up money in an independent film under $1 million, something like that, like a lower dollar amount, the chances of them making their money back is a lot higher because they don't have a couple $1 million budget. If it's like, let's say $500,000 budget, you can make a great film for $500,000 with name actors.
You can these days. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can do anything, and you can make your money back within, just a few months if they do the marketing right. You target the right audience. Now with social media, distribution, you can handle on your own. You don't have to go through a distributor anymore. You can make tons of money back, and it's just, I don't think a lot of investors know that. They just hear the horror stories of, oh yeah, I invested, put up $5 million in this movie and nothing happened. And it's like, I don't know. I wish there's got to be a lot more education about that because, like you said, there's so many projects that are potentially profitable, but you gotta fight against the grain with, people thinking that investing in movies is a bad idea when actually it's a really safe idea if it's with the right person.
Here's the thing: the investors got to look at. There's so many movies getting made, and every one of them have investors. So maybe there's something you don't know, and I think what they don't know is the secret that, investing in films is risky, but when it works, guess what? Unlike real estate or whatever else you invest in, you can have money coming in perpetuity forever. I mean, look at the best example, faith-based, Facing the Giants, made for $10,000, and today I'll go in a bookstore, and there it is, still making money for their investors, millions. It has made millions of money, of dollars. So when it works, it's very exciting. Not to mention, it's exciting for investors just to be involved in movies. I mean, some people do that just even though they know that it's risky. They say, well, but this is an exciting thing to do. This is they love seeing the progress of the film. Then it's a whole. Whereas if you invest in apartments or real estate, I mean, that you get what you get. You either get your money back or you don't, or whatever, and that's all there is to it. You're not going to go over there and look at the apartments and gaze at them. But when you invest in a film, I mean, there's a process, and you're part of that, and it's exciting to watch it. Pre-production, production, distribution, to see what they're going to say about it on Rotten Tomatoes. There's your name on it, possibly. There's your name on the IMDb, and then you go, let's do another one. So there's much more than just the money you might receive back when it comes to there's much more to consider from an investor's point of view. And I think that's why a lot of movies are getting made, is because people who have money to invest go, I want to do something different. I want to do something exciting. They can show up on the set, and there's an atmosphere there. As you know, Rich, I don't know about you, but as an actor, there's nothing that excites me more creatively than being on that set. There's a magic in the air, especially with a good production team. I can do a couple hours of a comedy show, and that includes showing up and leaving. And I'm fine with that. That's fun. But I can do easily 18 hours on a good movie set if I have to. I think investors and everyone else is realizing the fun of making films.
Yeah, well, and they last forever too. I mean, like you make a great film.
Absolutely.
You make a great film, and tell a great story. I mean, people love that. They'll rewatch it, and financially they'll keep buying it. They'll just it'll always make money for you if it's done really well, and it has the right audience, and plus it's something you can be proud of.
Yeah, it's something to be proud of. I mean, man, there's nothing like producing just a great product on video or film or whatever. It's just really creatively fulfilling. So, Well, I was just going to say, not to mention, like you said, these days, you're right. I mean, with all the editing stuff and the cheap film equipment has become so cheap, and everyone can learn how to do it on YouTube. I mean, these days, $250 to $500,000. I'll be honest with you, man. I watch a lot of low-budget independent films because, unlike what Hollywood commercializes everything, they'll take a good movie idea. I watch these Japanese horror films, and then I watch Hollywood take them and screw them up, because there was a movie I watched called Train to Busan, South Korean zombie movie that was it was even beautiful. It had relationships in it. It had a storyline. It had a lesson at the end. It was awesome. And I watched that movie 5 times. Independent, South Korea, probably made for less than $1 million, maybe $2 million. In Hollywood, I heard bought it, and I'm like, they're going to screw it up. They would do it every time. Because they got to have their stars, and they got to do this, and not all the time, but for the most part, they're all about the money in Hollywood anymore, and there's hardly any creative connection. I mean, the people really in charge, you've probably read stories about how they almost didn't want Marlon Brando for The Godfather or this or that, and it's all because they're only concerned about the money. So they can screw up. They can screw up a good movie, and that's why I love independent films, because they're all on their own. They're making their own movie. No one at some studio telling them what they can and can't do, and you're still getting these gems, once in a while. So I think if we can combine the two things and meet somewhere in the middle, Hollywood will get back to what it was intended to be. But as for now, I prefer independent films.
Yeah, you what I thought? I always thought the person who had the biggest cojones to create a Christian film was Mel Gibson when he did The Passion.
Yeah.
I mean, putting up his own money, that was like putting up his own money, making a beautiful film, and it just rocked the entire world, and it was amazing. I loved it.
Oh, man, I think that movie was on a level, I mean, the way he cast a woman as the devil, and the way that everybody's performance was like supernatural, if you ask me. It was so, if I had to pick the greatest movie ever made, it would be that one.
Yeah.
And then right underneath it would be The Revenant.
And then under that, for me, it would be Three Amigos. I love that one.
Love it.
Oh, that's
then Napoleon Dynamite.
Another movie, $500,000, from his friends and family.
Oh,
and he put it together,
example, man.
Yeah,
perfect.
And he did, and it went great.
Yes, I love it. And man, did that guy do it right. So Do you know that they went back later and gave what's the lead guy's name that played Napoleon?
I forgot. It was like I don't know. I forgot his name.
I forgot his name too. I love the guy, but he got very little for that movie because they didn't know what to expect. And then when it went back and made millions, he was able to negotiate. They finally gave him a couple mil, realizing he was the whole movie.
Yeah.
So I was
John
glad
Heder.
to see that.
That's right.
Yeah, John Heder. I was glad to see that because most places they don't care. I don't know if you know this, but the guy who the Somalian guy who played so perfectly, excellently, the guy who took over the ship with Tom Hanks. What was that called?
Yeah. Captain Phillips. That's right.
Yeah, the guy who said, I'm the captain now. He's from Minneapolis, where they have a lot of Somalian people, and I'm glad to see he's still, I see him in a couple of independent films, but as you know, he did a perfect job, and most of that's the directing, but still, he did a great job. And he shows up at the Oscars, and he doesn't even have a ride, because he got paid $200,000 for that role. And all these millionaire Oscar guys, no one's reaching out to him to help him get into the Oscars. Nobody, not even Tom Hanks. You can't throw him. You know, the big dude who's now in trouble for all his despicable stuff he did sexually with women. I forget his name. Weinstein.
Oh, Harvey. Yeah.
Yeah, Weinstein probably had that. Why don't you take what you got in your wallet and give it to him? I mean, my gosh, probably have $500,000 there. But they are so friggin' greedy. And nobody talked about that. But here's a Somalian dude that, you know, and he, you know, that $200,000 doesn't, after you pay your agent and everything, goes fast. So he's already broke, and that money, that movie is still making what, $300 million. So, you know, but yeah, Hollywood and their greed.
No, that's why I'm glad it's, you know, there's other avenues that we can do. I mean, we got to work our butts off, but we can, you know, we can create our own stories, and we can raise our own money, and we can do our own distribution, and it's like I don't know. I like it. I love going to California. I love the atmosphere. I love going to Burbank and hanging out with my comedian friends, friends, or just sitting at Starbucks writing a script and looking over and seeing other people writing. Like I do love Southern California. I love the concept of being creative. Like I do miss it. Like I wish it was more here in Colorado. We don't. There's not a ton. There's pockets of it everywhere, but
there's no place like Hollywood. Yeah, there's no place. Even if you go to Atlanta, I know they're filming a lot, and even New York City. That's cool, but there's just something in the air about Hollywood. I think it's just the opportunities. Knowing when I go in, if I audition here in Kansas City, it's nothing more than an audition. But if you audition in Hollywood, it could be the thing that puts you up there on it's like the movie La La Land, you know. Every commercial. When I was doing commercial auditions, Zach Anopoulos wasn't famous yet for his movie where they went to Vegas, and I would see him there all the time. Zach Galifianakis, however you pronounce his name.
Zach Galifianakis, yeah.
Yeah, he was, and I was the only guy recognizing him because I remember I was a comedian and I remembered his comedy. But there he was, and then the next thing you know, boom, sky high. So you know, Hollywood. I always tell people who think about going to Hollywood, I tell them, well, are you ready for this kind of pressure? Because, and I'll ask them to name their favorite TV show. Let's say they name Friends. I'll say, okay, so Chandler, the guy who plays Chandler, when he auditioned, they probably narrowed it. They started off with maybe 50 guys, then they narrowed it down to 25. Then he got another call back, and there was only 7. And then there was finally a call back between him and one other guy in the room, and they're reading, and the pressure is one of you is going to be going home to worldwide fame and riches. The other one's going back home living in your car.
Yeah.
And that's every TV show out there. For every lead guy on any TV show, there's an actor sitting at home right now who said, I missed it by 1. Can you handle that kind of pressure? And most people can't handle that kind of pressure. And there's a lot of pressure. So, it's not for the pansies, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's why I love being, like I've done some acting, but I love being the producer or the executive producer, the director. I think because you're the ones that are, you're the one that's holding the auditions and trying to get the right actors, and you kind of have creative control. And it's fun to go to a studio and get hired. But it's like, I don't know, for me, it's like, I want to create my own stuff and then bring in the people that I want to do, and like call my own shots kind of thing, and not leave it to somebody else to hopefully I get cast in something or be able to do this or that.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
So what's on the horizon for you now as far as, because I know you have all of these movies coming up, but what's the big goal? I mean, just to get all the funding for the movies that you're
I'm making a movie called Christian Movie, as you know. It's a first of its kind parody of Christian movies whose time has come. And as you know, people sometimes hear that and think, oh, you're slamming Christian movies. Now listen, every movie, the Titanic was parodied. A parody is not necessarily a slam. It simply takes a premise and exaggerates it. So, like they did the scary movies franchises and all that. So, I'm taking, if you go to ChristianMovieParody.com, you'll see the pitch trailer I made where I use Fireproof, Facing the Giants, Grace Card, and a couple other things. And I show just an idea of how I parodied that in the script. And I think it's time, I don't know about you, but what I do when I do stand-up comedy for an outreach event at a church is I show people that we can laugh at ourselves. And so that's the same thing I want to do with Christian Movie. And it will be a franchise because as long as they're making Christian movies, I can make fun of them. I can parody them. So,
and you're parodying your own movie, right?
Yeah, I parody my own movie. So, and I'm not I mean, there's some stuff in a couple of these movies where I've rolled my eyes and so on. But for the most part, that's not what I'm doing. And the fact is, if I don't do it, somebody out there who does have a hostile attitude towards Christianity will do it. There's actually a website on Facebook called God Awful Movies where they review nothing but Christian films and laugh at it and make fun of them. So that's not my intent at all. I just want to do what's never been done. Whenever I've seen Christian movies, my comedic mind will often go, oh, what if we did this premise or that premise with that scene? Fireproof especially is chock full of stuff where you could kind of exaggerate. So that's what I'm making here, and I hope the ministry aspect of it will be that people can see that we can laugh at ourselves as Christians. And most people are on board with it, and it doesn't need a lot of money, maybe $250,000. I can get it made. If I wanted more money for it, it would simply be to get some cameos from some bigger name actors. I would love to get Bill Maher playing the coach of the Heathens. The Heathens is, the bad guy. So I hope to get this made in 2019. I'm going to make it happen one way or the other. And from there, I have more serious projects I want to do, drama, comedy, thriller, even a couple horror films that I want to make that will always have a Christian worldview. It's not going to ever really be in your face the way so-called Christian films usually are. But it will always have that nugget of truth to it and a Christian worldview. And I hope, for that to be a ministry in that respect.
Huh. So what would another easy transition? What would you for the actor? Let's say there's the actor that wants to move to Hollywood. What advice would you give them as far as getting prepared? Because I asked this because my daughter's been asking this a lot. She's like, Daddy, like when I get graduate, and I'm so glad she's only 9 or 10. She's 10. I'm so glad that there's a few years, but because she's been around the production, I've had her and stuff in commercials and things that I've produced, but she wants to move to Hollywood and be on the Disney shows and all this stuff. Like, what advice would you give for that young person that is, a person of faith that wants to get involved in making movies, whether it's Christian or secular, and they're just moving out to Hollywood? Like I had this dream of being an actor? Like, what would you say to that person?
Well, yeah, first of all, be very prayerful about it, and just, because I felt like everything we did was a move of God. It really was. And you have to, because you're kind of like Sodom and Gomorrah as far as the spiritual aspect goes. But assuming you're doing that, practically speaking, be patient. Study first, because that's who the casting directors are looking at, the best people in the world. And that's who you're up against. And so most people go, I need an agent. And I'll say, where'd you study at? Oh, I didn't study yet. Then you don't need an agent. You need to study. Because when you go in there, that agent who's got a keen eye, man, they know the minute you come in that room, if you're experienced, they will remember you you won't get another audition for at least a year. They might even call your agent and say, why did you send that person in here? So I would say, and I study with people from Skype. I keep people all over the nation by way of Skype. I teach them what I learned in L.A. From the best actors, and I've seen them go on to really. I've seen people come to me who don't really want to learn. They just want to be on TV and in movies. And I've actually had to tell some people, don't come back. Don't come back with me. You're not serious, because I give them exercises to do. 20 minutes a day, and if they don't do them, I realize they're not serious. So, but for the most part, study for at least a year with, and because the casting directors also want to see on your resume, who are they studying with? Study with someone reputable, really good. You'll find it out. My idea is if you really want to be an actor, you'll figure it out. If you're a wannabe, and there's a lot of them out there, as you know, both in the comedy world and the acting world, it'll eat you up and spit you out. You'll come back home. And because people who really love to act, they have to. We have to do it. We love it. Same with comedy. So do these things. Study. If you can study a little bit, do some theater where you're at. If she's 11, do a lot of theater. That'll get you. Even though the theater is big, we're performing for the person in the back row in theater, and for film, we're performing for someone literally 1 inch away from our eyes, our face. So we have to, there's a subtlety to that, and I teach that myself. But for the most part, study as much as you can at home. I wouldn't study with any film actor who claims to be a film teacher that didn't study in Hollywood or New York. I had to spit out some garbage from some Midwest teachers when I went to L.A. that didn't know what the frig they were talking about. So I could suggest some great books and stuff, but study in L.A. because that's where the best teachers are. Take your time, and then audition for whatever you can that you can get without an agent, because auditioning, I did 350 auditions out there. That was my best teacher, okay? Then look for an agent after about a year, and then start going on auditions. So take your time. Be patient with yourself. And just study, go to classes, do theater. That's where everybody in the world is trying to get seen. And just be careful of who there's some obvious things. Never audition at someone's house, or if you do, take somebody with you, stuff like that. There's a lot of snakes out there, but the information is out there on what to do. You know what I mean?
And also, look them up on IMDb. That was a mistake that I made years ago. When you're working with people, they say they've been in this and that. Yeah. Look them up look up their names, see what they have on IMDb, see what their credits are, and make sure you're dealing with the right people.
There was this guy posing as a producer years ago on Facebook, all over the faith-based especially. And I started to notice how he was really promising the pretty girls parts. And so I went on the IMDb and didn't see nothing. So I posted right there on his next. I said, hey man, I just went on the IMDb, didn't see anything over there. How do we find out about your credits? And he goes, I'm kind of flying under the radar. That was I forget what smart aleck thing I said back at him, but that was the last I heard of him. So he eventually faded out, So
Oh,
the IMDb doesn't lie. There's nobody flying under the radar. If you did something, see, back in the day, we could lie about our resume, but these days you can't. It's on there or it's not. And so is your acting reel. And by the way, that's what I would tell your daughter. Do the student films, do whatever she can, and get an acting reel together. And because that's really the one thing where they're going to look at whether they bring you in for an audition. It's not a picture. Thousands, actually probably 500,000 beautiful faces are in Hollywood. And even as someone who's cast stuff, I've looked at great pictures, and then I look at a reel, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, terrible. So a picture's good, but these days, honestly, you can take your own pictures. They're interested in what you've done and seeing how you look cinematically. So get that real. And it sounds like it's almost impossible, but it's not. They love. Good news is they love new faces. If you don't have experience, you promote yourself as a new face. And they love that. Something no one's ever seen. And, young people especially, my kids got more auditions than I did practically. My son Dustin got a lot of nice roles when I was just teaching them, because kids are just really pliable with that stuff. I would show him how to audition, and he'd copy me, then he'd make it his own, and he got a lot of commercials and some TV. So if she can, do any kind of filming as a young person out in Colorado, wherever she is, that would be good as well.
Yeah, and that's something I can do. I have the equipment where we can she can maybe write a little script, and I'll shoot it, make it all look nice, and then she can have a little something to take with her.
Yeah, do several things. Do comedy, do a commercial, do a drama, and put it all on there. And if you have that equipment, and just make it look like, they're not asking what is this from or anything. They just want to see how they look and that they know what they're doing, and that'll be good enough for a reel, to be honest.
Nice. Where can people go to find you? I know you have several websites, but I know you have, what's your main website where people can go to find out more about you, possibly book you, bring in to make fun of the Chargers?
MichaelJoyner.com. Joyner's with an I. A lot of people confuse me for Michael Jr. and Michael Jr. Here's the difference. My name is Joiner, and he's black.
I love Michael Jr.
I do. I've done two DVDs with Michael Jr. And speaking of Michael, someone asked me about him the other day, and my answer was, he's the real deal, because, comics they'll say they'll help you, but to a point where they don't get in their own way. But Michael Jr. selflessly helped me get in. The Ice House is the hardest club in the world to get in, and he helped me get in there. I eventually headlined it and made a tape there. And I think he helped me with a few other things. It's just, he's a genuine dude, worthy of all the fame and fortune he's got. And a lot of the stuff he does is for people who can't pay him. He's gone out there. So, if you want to talk about, and him and Nazareth, two of my favorite people, comedy-wise.
I love Naz. Well, I love Naz is the only comedian that I know of that his accent has gotten worse the longer he's been in America.
I know.
He spoke perfect English when I met him, and now I'm like, what? I don't understand.
My favorite Nazareth story, I'll tell you real quick. You know about Sound Exchange, right, where we get our residuals?
A little bit, yeah. I've heard about it, yeah.
Oh, well, you need to get into that, because I've gotten literally thousands of dollars from airplay in the last 10 years. But I told Nazareth about it about a year after I found out about it. I called him on the phone. I said, Nazareth, you need to go to soundexchange.com and see if they have any money for you, because they collected a bunch of money for me from the last 5 years that they played my music on the radio. So just search your name and blah, 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 and tell them the names of your bits, and they'll search it out for you for free. They do it for free. So about 6 months later, I called and I said, hey, man, were you able to collect? I said, Nazareth, were you able to collect any money from Sound Exchange? And he says, you won't believe it. They gave my money to Nazareth, the band. I said, oh, man, I feel sorry for your sister Led Zeppelin then. My gosh. But but no, they really
hilarious.
did. They gave a bunch of money, and he couldn't collect it. He got a lawyer. And here's the thing. I know Nazareth, the band, was fully aware they don't have a song called Why I Can't Run in the Airport, but they collected the money anyway. You know.
Oh, man, that is hilarious.
Oh, absolutely true. But eventually he's able to, now he's getting his residuals. But, I mean, as far as what they paid them, he couldn't, there was no getting it back. So, yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh, he's funny.
Yeah.
Those guys are all great.
Yeah, I love them.
Well, cool, man. I so appreciate your time. Man, it was such a great time catching up, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to just chat about stuff and more than just comedy. You know, we talked about everything, and I think you have some really good nuggets out there.
I'm looking forward to working with you next year, hopefully, and I'm hoping to get you on Christian Movie too, man. I like your style, so I hope that works out.
Oh, man. Yeah, would love that. Yeah, I'll keep you posted on that, and I will put all of the websites that we mentioned here. I'll put them all in the show notes, and people can just click on it and all that stuff. So.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Have a great day, brother.
All right, man. God bless. We'll see you.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with my buddy Michael Joyner. He's such a fun guy to hang around with. Please check out his website at michaeljoyner.com, where you can also find out things that he's working on right now, as well as the amazing films and projects that he has been that you can take a look at. This is the Rich Praytor Podcast. I'm out.